Palantir just dropped their Q4 2025 investor report, and wow, the numbers are something else. We're going to break down exactly what's going on behind these incredible results, so let's just dive right in. I want to start with just one number. No context, nothing. Just 127%. What in the world is that? Well, this single metric tells a massive story about Palantir's health and its momentum right now. So what does it actually mean? All right, it all comes down to this thing in the software world called the Rule of 40. It's a super simple back-of-the-napkin way to see if a company is healthy. You just add its revenue growth rate and its profit margin together. Now, if that number is over 40%, you're looking at a really solid top-tier company. So, getting a score of 127, that isn't just excellent. It's pretty much off the charts. We're talking about an entirely different stratosphere. Okay, before we get any deeper, I have to say the usual thing, and it's really important. This whole breakdown is purely for educational purposes. This is not, and I repeat, not financial advice. We're here to understand the business, what makes it tick, not to talk about the stock. So here's the plan. We'll hit the explosive growth numbers first, then dig into the two big engines driving all this. We'll get into what the software actually does in the real world, how they're building an AI ecosystem, and then wrap up with the bottom line and what they see coming next. All right, first up, a quarter of explosive growth. Let's get right into these record-breaking numbers. The numbers here are just staggering. Total revenue, up 70% year over year to $1.41 billion. But get this, US revenue alone shot up 93%. The total value of new contracts they closed, a stunning 138% increase. And on top of that, they closed 180 deals worth over $1 million each. You can just feel the acceleration here. So the big question is, where is all this coming from? I mean, 70% growth doesn't just fall out of the sky. It looks like they have two powerful engines firing, but one of them has just hit the afterburners. And this chart right here tells the whole story. Look, their US government business is still growing like crazy, up 66%. That's fantastic. But then you look at the US commercial side, 137% growth. That is the jet fuel behind this whole thing. It's the key driver of this crazy acceleration. And you might think, oh, they just signed a few huge deals. But nope, it's not just about bigger checks from the same old clients. They're actually expanding their customer base fast. Their US commercial customer count jumped by almost 50% in a single year. That's not just growth, that's widespread market adoption. Okay, numbers are great, but they can be a bit abstract, right? So what does this software actually do? Let's get out of the investor report and into the real world to see the impact. Okay, check this out. It's an initiative called ShipOS. This is a partnership with the US Navy, and the whole point is to bring America's shipbuilding and repair into the 21st century. I mean, we're talking about an industry that's famous for delays and going way over budget. So what's the impact? You ready for this? At one naval shipyard, a super complex job, planning a submarine's maintenance schedule, used to take 160 hours. 160 hours. With their software, it now takes 10 minutes. That's not just a little better, that is a complete game changer. It fundamentally transforms how work gets done. And look, people are noticing. The Secretary of the Navy himself said this isn't just new software. He called it a new way of doing business. When you hear that kind of language from leadership, you know it's not just some app they installed. It's deeply integrated into everything they do. But they're thinking even bigger. They're going after the very foundation of the entire AI industry. They've kicked off this new initiative called Chain Reaction, and their stated goal? To build the operating system for America's entire AI infrastructure. Just think about the scale of that ambition. And the ambition here is just immense. We're talking about tackling the biggest problems holding AI back. How do you stabilize the power grid when AI demands so much energy? How do you build data centers faster? They're even getting into how to design the next generation of hyperscale data centers. This is all about building the picks and shovels for the AI gold rush. So having amazing tech is one thing, but if you really want to scale, if you want to be everywhere, you need more than just good code. You've got to build an entire ecosystem around it, partners, people, the whole shebang. And that is exactly what they're doing. They're teaming up with global giants like HD Hyundai and shipbuilding and other heavy industries. They've got a massive partnership with Accenture, which is now training thousands of its own professionals to bring this platform to everything from healthcare to banking. That is how you scale globally. And it's not just about corporate partners. They're also building the workforce. They've started this incredible program called the American Tech Fellowship for Veterans. The idea is to take people who've served in the military, people who really truly understand complex, real-world operations, and turn them into top-tier AI builders. It's a really smart move.
Okay, so we've seen explosive growth and a smart strategy for scaling up. Let's wrap this up by looking at the bottom line and what they're telling us is next. You know, a lot of tech companies grow super fast by just burning through cash, right? Not here. This is the amazing part. They're not just growing, they're actually profitable. And not just on some adjusted metric. We're talking GAAP net income. And you can see it's not a fluke. It just keeps climbing. They hit nearly $609 million in pure profit in Q4.
And then there's this, their war chest, $7.2 times billion sitting in cash and short-term treasuries. And the best part? Zero. Debt. That gives them an incredible amount of freedom to invest, to acquire, and to weather pretty much any economic storm. So what's next? Well, they're not planning on slowing down. They're guiding for over $7 billion in revenue for 2026. But here's the kicker. They're expecting that U.S. commercial engine to keep roaring, forecasting growth of at least 115%. They clearly believe this acceleration is just getting started. And that brings us right back to where we started. Remember that 127%? Look at this journey. This wasn't some lucky quarter. It's a clear trend, a story of consistent, compounding improvement over 2 years, from a solid 57% all the way up to 127%. They are getting better and better at balancing incredible growth with real profitability. So all of this leaves us with one pretty massive question. When you put it all together, the technology that's having this kind of real-world impact, the fortress-like balance sheet, and this ecosystem they're building brick by brick, you just have to ask, are we watching Palantir build the actual operating system for the entire AI age?